Hello, and welcome to another 9-minute Bible study. Our starting point, 2 Chronicles chapter 29. Let's look at verse 5. And said to them, Hear me, O Levites. Sanctify now yourselves, and sanctify the house of the Lord God of your fathers, and carry forth the filthiness out of the holy place. What's going on here? King Hezekiah, the new king of Judah, he wants the priests and the Levites to reopen the temple. Before they could do this, they had to do three things. One, sanctify now yourselves. These people, before this happened, were they living a holy life? Yes, but they were not able to fulfill the call that God had on their life. It was time for them to return to the religious service that God called them to. In the case of the priest, they had to return to the lifestyle of a priest. For the Levites, they had to return to the lifestyle of those called to help the priest. In New Testament times, the priest, the type of the fivefold ministry. It was time for the fivefold ministry to return to the lifestyle of ministry in order to do what Jesus wants us to do. The Levites, or the helpers. In the New Testament era, the helpers are to return to what God has called them to do, to live the life, the professional life of the call that God gave them. The second part of verse 5 was what? Sanctify or set apart the house of the Lord God of your fathers. It was time for the temple to return to its normal work. In this age, it's time for the church to return to the preaching of the gospel, to the worship of the Lord, to winning souls for Jesus by seeing lives changed through healing, miracles, and deliverance. The last part of verse 5, carry forth the filthiness out of the holy place. The last few lessons, we saw that this really dealt with getting rid of the things that we say is not for today. Like preaching of the gospel is not for the day, the blood is not for the day, living a pure life is not for the day, being in the presence of God is not for the day. Well, we need, as a church, to get rid of all that filth and start going back to all of these are for today. Why? Jesus said so, and if Jesus said so, that's enough. Verse 6, For our fathers have trespassed or sinned, and done that which was evil in the sight of the Lord our God, and forsaken him, and have turned away their faces from the habitation of the Lord, and turned their back. What do we see here? In Hezekiah's time, before he became king, the people rejected the worship of the Lord. They no longer followed the Lord, nor did they follow his morality. They literally turned to other gods and other morality and began to follow them. In our time, what do we see? Sadly, a lot of the same thing, where people follow different gods, be it different religions, distorted forms of the truth, or a more social lifestyle where they follow the things of the world. We also see what? A different morality being practiced by a lot of people. What does this lead to? Well, what we see in the verses ahead. Verse 7. Also they have shut up the doors of the porch, and put out the lamps, and have not burned incense, nor offered burnt offerings in the holy place to the God of Israel. In short, they closed the temple. Now, what do we see in our time? Yes, we have seen, and sadly we will see more as we move along, a move to try to stop the church, the true church, from doing what God has called us to do. Why? Because as believers in Jesus, as a church, we are a reminder to society that a lot of their ways are sinful in the eyes of the Lord. So, instead of turning to the Lord, what are they going to do? They're going to try to get rid of those who actually remind them that what they're doing is a sin. That will happen. We've seen a dress rehearsal for this. We are going to see this more and more. What was the result? Verse 8. Wherefore the wrath of the Lord was upon Judah and Jerusalem, and he has delivered them to trouble, to astonishment and to hissing, as you see with your eyes. The nation began to be attacked from the outside with invasions. It began to be attacked inside with social disorder. It began to be disrupted economically, with the economy failing. Now, why was all of this happening? All of this was happening not because of bad foreign policy and bad social policy and bad economic policy. All of this was happening because the people rejected the Lord their God and his morality. When a people, regardless of time, when they reject the Lord their God, when they reject his morality, the protective hand of the Lord will not be on that group of people. That's why they will see attacks from the outside, trouble on the inside, the economy going down the drain. Why? Because when someone or a group of people reject the morality of the Lord and the worship of the Lord, there's going to be a consequence to be paid. And that consequence is trouble. Understand what we're saying here. When a people reject the Lord, especially after they have known the Lord, after they have known the morality of the Lord, when the protective hand of the Lord is not there, everything that the Lord protected them from will begin to happen to them. And it will not be pleasant. It will cause problems. Verse 9. For lo, our fathers have fallen by the sword, and our sons and our daughters and our wives are in captivity for this. Basically, a nation in bondage. Why? Because they rejected the Lord their God. Because they rejected his morality. Those who reject the Lord, those who reject the morality of the Lord, bondage is what they will face. This is not a theory. This is something that is absolutely, positively true. When a group reject the morality of the Lord, when they reject the Lord, there will be bondage in the future of that people. How do we get out of the bondage? That's our next lesson.